Welcome to 8-Limb Life, a podcast on living the 8 limbs of yoga, one step at a time. My name is Andra, and I am grateful you are sharing your time and presence with me as we explore this sacred wisdom. These teachings are ancient, but they're not meant to live in the past. They show up in how we speak, how we act, how we relate to others, and to ourselves. Each episode explores one of the limbs and how we can bring this wisdom into modern life. This is 8-Limb Life. Most of our lives aren't lived in big, dramatic moments. Life is lived in choices, in communities, in conversations, maybe with a partner at the end of the day, or with a friend when something feels off, maybe with a family member where the same patterns keep showing up. Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the first of the 8 limbs of yoga, the Yamas, as laid out by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. Today we're going to look at how the Yamas show up in little moments. The ones that are small, ordinary, easy to overlook. Because yoga isn't just a class we step into for an hour and leave behind. It's something we weave into our daily lives, in how we speak, how we listen, how we respond, in the way we move through the world. If you've ever thought of yoga as primarily physical, this is where that idea starts to shift. Because the yamas aren't about a perfect pose. They're about how we live. You can think of them as a kind of ethical foundation. Not rules in a rigid sense, but guiding principles. They shape how we relate to other people, to the world around us, and to ourselves. There are 5 yamas, beginning with ahimsa, or non-harming, satya, or truthfulness, asteya is non-stealing, brahmacharya is moderation or wise use of energy, aparigraha or non-grasping. And while those words can sound abstract at first, they're actually incredibly practical. They show up in the smallest moments of our day. Ahimsa might be the way you speak to yourself after making a mistake. Satya might be whether you tell the truth in a situation where it would be easier not to. Asteya might be noticing where you take more than you need, maybe more attention, more credit, or more time. Brahmacharya might be thought of as how you spend your energy, what you say yes to and what you don't. Aparigraha might be your relationship to holding on, whether that's possessions, expectations, or even identities. These aren't distant ideals. They're right here in the texture of ordinary life. Let's say you're in a coffee shop. You're waiting in line, and suddenly the energy shifts. A customer at the counter is angry. Their voice is getting louder. The barista is trying to stay calm, but you can see it's starting to land. People around you go quiet. Some look down. Some pretend not to notice. And now you're in it too. Not directly involved, but not separate either. there's that moment where something in you reacts. Maybe discomfort arises, maybe judgment. Maybe it's the urge to step in or flee. And this is where the Yamas live. Ahimsa might be noticing the harm in the situation, not just the words being said, but the impact they're having, and asking yourself, what would it mean to not add to that harm right now? Satya might be recognizing what's actually happening without minimizing it or pretending it's fine. Brahmacharya might be about your energy. Do you get pulled into the intensity of it, or can you stay a little more grounded? Aparigraha could show up as letting go of the need to control the situation or have it resolve a certain way. Maybe you say something, maybe you don't. Maybe your role is simply not to fuel it further, or maybe it's to offer a small moment of kindness once it passes. There isn't one perfect response here, but there is awareness. And that awareness, the pause, the consideration, that is the practice. And what's important to understand is that the Yamas work both outwardly and inwardly. Outwardly, they guide how we treat others, our actions, our words, our impact. But inwardly, they're just as powerful, because the way you speak to yourself is also part of the practice. You can be outwardly kind and inwardly harsh. This is a place where I've been caught many times in my own journey. Or maybe you can tell the truth to others, but you avoid it within yourself. The Yamas ask us to look at both, and they don't ask for perfection. That's where people can get tripped up. You might hear non-harming and think that's impossible. I'm going to mess that up constantly. Or truthfulness and think, but what if the truth hurts someone? Or non-grasping and wonder, am I not supposed to want anything? There's a place where these teachings start to feel less clear and more real. Because what happens when truth or satya and non-harming or ahimsa seem to pull in different directions? What if being honest does cause hurt? Let's say you're in a conversation with someone you care about and something needs to be said. Not to win or to prove a point, but simply because it's true. And you know as you say it, it might land hard. So what do? Do you stay quiet in the name of kindness? Or do you speak in the name of truth? This is where ahimsa and satya meet. Because ahimsa isn't about avoiding all discomfort. And satya isn't about saying whatever is true without care. It's about how the truth is held and how it's offered. There's a difference between truth that is used as a weapon and truth that is offered with clarity and care. The words might even be similar, but the intention, the tone, the timing, all of that matters. You can say something true in a way that cuts, or you can say something true in a way that invites. And even then, sometimes it will still hurt. Sometimes what's being said touches something tender, something unexamined, something real. And the practice becomes asking, am I speaking from reactivity or from steadiness? Am I trying to release something or to serve something? Am I willing to stay present for the impact of what I've said? Ahimsa and Satya together don't give you a perfect formula, but they do ask for a kind of honesty that is paired with responsibility. Not just what is said, but how and why and with what awareness. Let us consider the parable of the two wolves. In it is the story of a grandfather speaking to his grandchild. He tells the child, inside each of us there are two wolves in a constant struggle. The first one is anger, resentment, fear, and greed. The second is kindness, truth, patience, compassion. The child thinks about this for a moment, then asks, which wolf wins? And the grandfather replies, the one you feed. It's simple, but it's not easy. Most of the time, we don't even notice which one we're feeding. In a conversation, when something sharp comes toward us, do we feed reactivity or do we pause? When we're speaking to ourselves after a mistake, do we feed criticism or something a little softer and kinder? The Yamas don't remove the tension between those two forces. They just bring awareness to it. And over time, they ask us to take a little more responsibility for what we're strengthening, what we're feeding, moment by moment, choice by choice. I'd like us to look at one more example from everyday life. You're at work. Someone takes credit for something you did. Now there's a reaction. Frustration or anger. That's natural. The question becomes, what happens next? Do you stay silent and let resentment build? Do you lash out in a way that escalates things? Do you find a way to speak honestly without attacking? There isn't always one perfect answer, but the Yamas give you a way to navigate that moment. Ahimsa asks, can I respond without causing unnecessary harm? Satya asks, can I be truthful about what happened? Asteya asks, where is fairness here? Brahmacharya could ask, how do I use my energy wisely in this situation? Aparigraha asks, can I let go of needing a certain outcome? Suddenly, what could feel like a reactive moment becomes a conscious one. That's the shift. This is why the Yamas matter so much. They are not separate from life. They are life. And they're not about becoming a better person in some idealized way. They're about becoming more intentional, more aware of the space between stimulus and response, more capable of choosing how you show up. The truth is, life is made up of little choices we make all day long. Do I have one more cup of coffee? Do I return that phone call or text? Do I speed when I'm running late? Do I check my feed again? Life is a series of choices, choice after choice after choice. and the Yamas help bring clarity to those choices. Over the next few episodes, we'll take each of the Yamas one at a time and go deeper, because each one has layers. Each one gets complicated, and each one lives in those gray areas where there isn't always a clear answer. But that's the work, not to simplify life, but to meet it with more clarity, more steadiness, and a little more care. For now, just start noticing. Where in your day do these moments show up? Where do you react automatically? Where is there just a little bit of space to choose something different? That's enough. Thank you for sharing your time and presence with me, exploring the 8-limb life. My name is Andra, and I look forward to connecting with you more deeply with each and every episode. If you'd like to stay for an additional reading, I will share one at the end of each episode. May joy, love, peace, and laughter fill your lives and the lives of those around you. Namaste. Today I'd like to share with you the poem, A Love Note to My Body. This poem is by Cleo Wade from her book, Heart Talk. A love note to my body. First of all, I want to say thank you for the heart you kept beating even when it was broken, for every answer you gave me in my gut, for loving me back even when I didn't know how to love you, for every time you recovered when I pushed you past our limits, for today, for waking up.